As you know, chemists count things in moles, and a mole is effectively the chemist's dozen. The only difference is there's a lot more things in a mole than there are in a dozen. So while 1 dozen equals 12, 1 mole equals 6.022 times 10 to the 23 things. So a mole of atoms would be 6.022 times 10 to the 23 atoms. A mole of molecules would be 6.022 times 10 to the 23 molecules, etc. So we can count things in moles in exactly the same way that we can count things in dozens. So if you wanted to know how many donuts, or how many dozens of donuts, I should say, how many dozens of donuts are in 60 donuts, then you would just divide 60 by 12 and you'd know it was 5 dozen. And you obviously could go back the other way. We can do the same thing with the mole. We can calculate how many atoms are in a mole, or how many moles are in a given number of atoms, simply by using this conversion factor right here. The number is such an important number that it has its own name, and we call it Avogadro's number. And please excuse my blue fingers. I have just been making Halloween costumes and with blue paint. Okay, sorry about that. So let's convert some atoms to moles. Let's say we have 7.53 times 10 to the 22 copper atoms. And we want to know how many moles that is. Remember, the abbreviation for mole is MOL. So we need to go from atoms to moles. Our conversion factor is Avogadro's number, and in this case we want it to go on atoms to go on the bottom. So 1 mole will go on the top, because this is the other side of our conversion factor, over 6.022 times 10 to the 23 atoms. And remember, it doesn't just work for atoms. You don't just have to limit a dozen to eggs or donuts. You could count anything by the dozen, and we can count anything by the mole. Typically, we reserve it for counting very small things simply because it's a very large number, but you could count anything by moles. So we've got 7.53 times 10 to the 22 atoms multiplied by 1 mole over 6.022 times 10 to the 23 atoms. Atoms will cancel and we'll be left with moles. Let me see what we get here. Okay, so in my calculator I've got 7.53 EE22 divided by 6.022 EE23 equals, and my answer is 0.125 moles. And we have 3 sig figs in our answer because we have 3 sig figs in our given quantity and 4 sig figs in Avogadro's number. So we're going to round to 3 sig figs.